a podcast that talks about culture, politics, society, and we have a great guest today that will help us a bit more to understand about the traumas in our lives and how to take care of those people we care about. His name is RJ Encinas from Chris 180. Hey, RJ, thanks for joining me.
Hey Rico, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, no, this is great. It's a beautiful day outside too, so
It
it's good
it
to be
is
inside.
it is nice. Yep.
So, Chris 180 just opened a new facility in Lawrenceville, Georgia, here in Gwinnett County. And the services that are going to be expanding into that facility and reaching out to the Gwinnett community. So, I guess the first question would be give us an overview of Chris 180 and its mission. And tell us,
Yeah.
by the way, a little bit about yourself as well.
All right, cool. Like you said, Rico, my name is RJ Encinas, and I am the Vice President of Wraparound Services here at Chris 180. I actually am brand new to Atlanta. I've only lived here since January, so I'm still trying to find my footing here in Atlanta, still, testing out the delicious food and different locations. The positive is I happen to choose a home in Gwinnett. So, living here and the new office opening here in Gwinnett just, kind of worked out perfectly. So Chris 180, it is an Atlanta-based nonprofit organization that opened in 1981. We've for the over the past 40 years, we have worked with over 200,000 families in throughout the metro Atlanta area. What we do is we provide life-changing trauma-informed behavioral health services and wraparound services to children, families, and adults in communities that empowers them to change the direction of their lives. A lot of what we do also is, meeting the families where they're at. I think that's so important, is to help support them in the most natural setting. So whether that be home, school, a foster home, community-based programs, our goal is to help support them where they need it the most. And that very much coincides with our mission. Our mission is to heal children, strengthen families, and build community. And so with that said, I'm sorry, did you have a question, Rico?
No, no, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay, cool.
You're
So,
doing great.
sorry, I thought so. I loved Chris 180. I think that's, obviously a big reason why I was driven to come here. The diversity of the populations that we work with, the vast amount of programs that we have under our umbrella. The cool thing is Chris 180 is actually an acronym as itself. It's a standard for our core values. So creativity, honor, respect, integrity, safety. And the 180 itself represents change. As you know, our goal is to help change lives in the community that we serve.
Yeah. Oh, great. That was a great overview. Where'd you come from originally, RJ?
Arizona,
Arizona. You,
Tucson, Arizona. Yep.
you're probably happy you left there, but the heat can be bad here too. So,
Well, it's funny because I talk to my family, almost daily. I'm very close to my family, and
mm,
even the water pressure is hot when it's on cold. So because it's so
yes,
hot there.
yes.
So yes, I am.
See,
I'm loving this weather. That's one of the
well,
things that I think that has made me most excited to live here is this incredible weather. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's a little bit more seasonal to some degree. Although it's
absolutely.
changed a lot since '95 when I first moved here. The weather has been um, it's just changed a bit. It's not. It gets cooler. It stays cooler longer now, I think,
Oh,
in some
okay. Well,
ways.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, but when it gets hot, it really gets hot. So, and humid, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Um, so you guys opened up the Lawrenceville facility here in Gwinnett County. Obviously, Gwinnett is majority minority, the most diverse county in the state of Georgia, the largest county, I think, still by population. Um, it takes a lot of people to run a place. So what so one of the programs, let's get right into it, I guess. The
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit the trauma informed care that and what that means and how that's an essential part of the service that Chris 180 does?
Yeah, I mean, I think, trauma informed care, the easiest way to describe that is it's, providing services to children and families where it's more of an element of looking at what's, not looking at what's wrong with you versus what happened to you. How do we support you? How do we get, what led up to this point of your life where we can help support you? And so part of what we do is we try to establish, a foundation of where to start, a starting point, and then we take off from there. So, with that said, a lot of what we do here, um, we have a vast amount of services that we provide within our organization. We do, there's child parent psychotherapy, we have play therapy, psychiatric services. Here in Gwinnett, the office specifically has, it's a counseling center. So we have, a variety of therapists here who provide, a great deal of different modalities when it comes to, therapeutic interventions. Aside from that, where I come in, we have a wraparound program. It's a huge program. And the positive is we have a bunch of specialties within our program. So specifically, the program that is housed here in Gwinnett is the Birth to 8 program. And so what we do is a lot of family approach, obviously, because the children are so young. And so we do a lot of, ensuring that whoever is responsible, in that home to help that home function well, that's who we want to work with, everybody as a unit.
Okay.
We also have our foster care and adopt program here as well. And that is growing. I think the positive is that we've always been a part of the community here in Gwinnett, with working with clients and families. But I think it's so astronomical to have an actual location here, to have a home base here where we can have people come in and provide that direct support. They see us as part of the community. And then also, for people like me who live in Gwinnett, it's great to be able to have a touchdown, to be able to come to every day and support, in a different kind of way. I think we've gotten so used to, there's so much virtual, I guess it's just part of our life now, right? Since COVID. And so, I think, some of the things that I love is being able to have that direct interaction with not only, people, community, but with the staff. I think it's such a different feel of the relationships you build, and offering additional support to them in a way that is, I guess, just plain different from, this sort of conversation.
Sure. And obviously we're doing this remote too, so I can appreciate this started out as a remote podcast back during COVID, whereas we were in person before that. For the most part. But it just makes life easier, right? You can talk to a lot of different people on their schedule, right? So, we've had podcasts where people...
Can you get on a good call?
No,
Go ahead, sorry.
People have been in their cars, doing the podcast with me, so it's all fine. It's all good.
Absolutely, it works.
Yeah. So, as far as... So you mentioned quite a few programs so far. Play therapy, child parent psychotherapy programs. Do you use technology at all? Does the nonprofit use sometimes Zoom calls even? I mean, are they...
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I mean,
tell me.
not only like you had said that it's part of the world now, and it's part of how we've developed, but again, it's also helped us to develop, additional services and serving families that are unavailable, if transportation is an issue, if they live, further away. Technology has really become pivotal in our ability to reach families at a greater distance. So, even though we are here in person, we are a facility that offers counseling services, face to face. We also offer virtual sessions as well. So we definitely use technology in lots of different ways, and including some of our psychiatric services as well.
Really? Excellent. Now, these services are provided free, obviously, right? There's no going to insurance or anything like that. This is a nonprofit supplying all that.
It's both. Yeah, it's both. Yep. It's
both.
Yeah, we definitely have grants, contracts that help support families who are uninsured. So we definitely have that option. But yeah, typically, a lot of our services are, I guess, like I said, it's both. It helps, it's sort of like, our hope is to not say no ever. And so it's however we can help serve you, let's find a way to serve you. So that's typically our approach of how we look at things. Yeah.
Okay. So with the new facility in Gwinnett County, how are you looking to integrate these services to the local community and within other organizations, if you will? Because I'm sure you're reaching out to other community organizations.
Yeah, actually, last week we had an incredible open house. It was super fun. Lots of Sister community programs came out to say hello, which was wonderful of them.
Excellent.
So, I was here and actually I made three really great, contacts with people who I wouldn't probably have otherwise.
Wow.
And so as early as of Monday, I was already receiving emails, phone calls from those people that I met. I get chills because I think it's just such a cool thing to be able to connect with people and again, in a
Yeah.
lot of instances, because we aren't such a huge presence here or weren't, a lot of people didn't know what we offered or what we still
Hmm.
offered, after, COVID and whatnot. So there is a great need for our support services out here. So I think, continuing that communication, establishing those relationships, those rapports. There's a
Hmm.
lot of local businesses in this specific area we're at. And so, we're
Yeah.
supporting them as well by trying out all their different lunch menus during the week, but I think aside from that, I
Right.
think just showing our good work. I think that's one of the biggest things is being able to establish a name for ourselves, here in this particular area where, families feel good and comfortable to come to us for help.
Yeah, with as much as what we do with the magazines that we have and stuff, I knew of Chris 180, but didn't really know all the services until I got touched and someone said, "Why don't you interview them for the podcast?" Um, it's just a lot of services you all provide, and I think that you're right. I mean, quite a few people don't know these services,
Yeah.
right? And so the other one, I think the other part of the service I was going to ask you about, obviously collaboration and partnerships are essential to what you do. Um, but with Gwinnett County and its court system, do you all work
Mhm.
with the court system as well? Do you provide um, a program where you're dealing with or getting referrals through the court system, I think.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the, again, like how you mentioned having these relationships, we have a lot of referral sources. And so we actually do have a juvenile justice program where we work directly with the courts. And so it's supporting children who are in need and crisis. I guess
Mhm.
to backpedal a little bit, the idea of wraparound services is to, provide just that. We're wrapping the family when they're in crisis. So it's sort of at the highest need. Let's get them stable and kind of figure out at that point on what is needed next. How
Mm.
do we support you? Do we continue providing these support services? Is there addition? Is there not? So with the juvenile justice program, there's a lot of court components in which we do help support families. Whether that is involvement with Department of Family Child Safety, whether
Mhm.
it is court order that they receive additional therapeutic services or interventions. So whatever it may be, we definitely have a lot of referral sources. But again, I think part of the relationship that I built last week is in addition to that as well,
Right.
with the court involvement. So again, I think this is just starting to blossom into what it potentially could grow into.
Now, I like the way you talk about everything. It's really is, you may be dealing with a child uh, has some issues and stuff, but dealing with the whole family makes sense, right? Because maybe those issues are coming out because of parental issues, maybe because, of substance abuse within the family. And they may not be doing it, but they may be affected by it because of it,
Yeah.
as they would. How do you handle the substance abuse in your programs? Also, someone comes to you that way. Do you do that in house? How do you handle someone that comes to you? Obviously, has some mental health issues, but also is doing substance abuse.
Yeah, like you had mentioned, there's such a variety of various programs that we offer here at Chris 180. So, we do have therapists, counselors who are specialized in treating, children and adults who have substance abuse problems and issues. What we do is, when we receive a referral or someone calls saying, hey, this is the issue at hand, we need help.
Hmm.
We what we do is we complete an initial assessment on the child and the family or whoever needs to be enrolled, because we do support children and adults, families. And
Hmm.
at that point we then determine what is needed right now. If it is something that, we are unable to do, which is probably, very small because we have, again, so many great support programs. But
Right.
if it is something that we're not able to do and support in that moment, we, part of our job is to find resources for family. That's one of our biggest
Okay.
things, and with the relationships built throughout, the over 40 years, we have a lot of great connections in the sense of, hey, I have this parent, this is the immediate support they need. What could this look like for them? So,
Okay.
it's also reaching out to, who are the experts in,
Yeah.
particular areas. So, we love the idea of collaboration. And so I think with that said, it's sort of the best part about it is that our goal is to try to individualize services for each person who's enrolled.
Mm.
We don't look at people with one particular issue and, ballpark them at this is your issue. This is what you're also going to receive. Like, the 400 other people that have that same
Right.
issue. Our goal is to look at them as individuals and make sure that we're tailoring those services to that particular person.
I would imagine, people coming to you, I mean, they're being overwhelmed by issues in their lives, by challenges. And I can see how getting that under control makes sense first before you can
Yeah,
treat the byproduct of what's going on.
absolutely.
Um, right. So what challenges are you finding? Now I know you've just moved here, but
Yeah.
in society, since COVID, since things, I'm assuming you've worked in this field for quite a while, though, right? Um,
Yes, sir.
have you seen maybe even regionally? I mean, you lived in Arizona for a while, but do you see any difference coming to? I know it's such a short time, but do you see any different types of challenges in the Southeast here, let's say, in Atlanta that you're listening to versus Arizona? Or
Yeah.
is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies obviously where you live. I think there's different challenges depending on, your location, your environment. But, I think one of the things that is consistent is, there are families who need help who are in crisis. And I
Right.
think that's sort of the baseline of it. And so I think, one of the things that I like to say to my staff, that I supervise is, what is now the new norm in
Mm.
regards to the challenges children and families face was probably what we considered, high acuity population that we worked with 5, 6 years ago. Because the world has changed so dramatically,
Yeah.
resources and just, the ability to get, what's needed, now it's sort of like a lot of some of these cases we hear, they're very traumatic, they're very tragic. And it's sort of, not, you don't want to normalize it, but you want to look at it as, okay, I guess
Hmm.
this is now the new challenges that we have that maybe we didn't have before, or it's one of those once in a while things you heard where now it just seems more consistent. So
Yeah.
everything seems to have elevated, um,
Really? Okay.
severely over the past 4 or 5 years. But yeah, we're ready for, whatever comes. Our goal is to try to help them in the best possible way.
Sure. No, I could appreciate that. Um, you've expanded because of the expansion. There's probably, you have more services and all that. Um, there are challenges in doing it in a new place, and it sounds like you've overcome that a bit by networking, by meeting all sorts of new people and finding new resources that you can use, and other people that want to reach back out to you. Um, well, how do you measure the success or the impact of the programs then that you have? Moving forward, how do you do that? Is that something you
Yeah.
do even?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what we do is we try to make sure we're effective. So there's a lot of, areas in which we are monitoring it just from, plain data. How many successful closures have we had? How many families have graduated successfully from services? We also look at enrollment. How many new
Okay.
members have we had since, this announcement has gone out, or how many new families have been interested
Right.
enrolled? How many new referrals have we received? How many additional relationships have we built within the community? Are we in their schools? Are we in their hospitals? Are we in
Mm.
their foster homes? So again, I think it's a variety, and I think that it's hard to say just one thing, but I think you have to have both. You have to have that, the numbers and those, obvious factors that show, are our services effective? Are they working? and then you have to have that, other component where it's very
Mhm.
community based. And what does that look like for us, in this particular community? How can we improve, because there's always room for improvement.
Mhm.
And what are we doing well? Those are the things that I like to always look at when looking at it as a whole. But I do, one of the things that I was going to say earlier too is I think, at least in this area, everybody has been so welcoming. It has felt so natural. It hasn't felt like, hey, you're the new kid on the block, or anything like that. It has truly felt, it feels like we've always been here, at least in my
Really?
perception.
Okay.
And so I think that is also motivating, because it makes you feel like, if this is how we're accepted, if this is how it feels, being, again, the new kids on the block,
Mhm.
it just kind of makes you want to then get out there and see, what else there is to offer here. I'm a big fan of growth. I love
Mhm.
the idea of making sure that we could potentially, be even bigger than we already are. And so, I think my brain is always kind of going with, kind of like a hamster wheel, figuring out what is next for us. Where is an area that is underserved that we maybe have not tapped in yet, or how can we
Yeah.
improve an area that, that already exists, but maybe, we can make some adjustments to it.
Interesting. I'm sure that you have lots of ideas, and as the time goes on, you'll get even more. Yeah,
Yeah.
Gwinnett County is kind of funny that way. Gwinnett has a lot of nonprofits that work here. A lot of like Norcross Cooperative Ministries. Um, I mean, there's quite a few of them actually. Good Samaritan of Gwinnett County. I mean, there's quite a few programs out there, quite a few nonprofits and companies that are
Mhm.
involved in these programs as well. Corporations that want to make
Yeah.
sure their employees have good, mental wellness. Um,
Mhm.
when you're doing the work you're doing, what programs do you think you'd like to see in the coming year or two that you all are not yet doing that you think would have an impact here?
Yeah, so we actually are in the process. So it's a great question, because we're actually in the process of starting up a crisis response program. So it kind of fits parallel with the wraparound, because the services that we are providing are intensified services for children and family who are in crisis. And so the crisis element of it allows us to support them on those odd times, right? So
Hmm.
after 7 p.m.,
Right.
before 8 a.m. if we're struggling to get the child into the car for school for that day, or
Okay.
whatever the circumstance may be. And then obviously much more severe than that. But on weekends, on holidays, we want to make sure that we're available to the families that need our help at those particular times where they may not have a resource at that time.
Hmm.
So that's actually brand new.
Okay.
We are in the, we've done some good work on establishing what that will look like. And so I know that once, the community gets wind of that's what, that's an additional service we offer, I know it's going to blow up, just because it's a great resource to have for the
Yeah.
families that we already work with. But aside from that, I think, to add to what you're saying, I think my goal would be to um, create, you know, a, a standing point for the wraparound program here in Gwinnett as well. I know
Hmm.
that the program that the one of the specific programs that we have that's housed here is the Birth to Eight, but we have a lot of other programs that are wonderful. We have programs that part of their responsibility is to work primarily in the school system. So
Hmm.
working with children throughout the day, we know resources are scarce at schools,
Yeah.
and so having that additional support there, some training for teachers, administrators on how to manage, some of these behavioral issues with some of the children that are there, emotional support. We also have specified programs that work with, like I said, the juvenile justice program. And then another program that we have is also those who work directly with children who and families who are involved in the Department of Family Child Safety. And so again,
Hmm.
it's establishing what those could be in this location. Maybe we have some in metro area
Hmm.
downtown, but then we also have a group here because it's grown so much. So,
Yeah.
looking at an expansion of, wraparound, in home, in community services.
So you guys do go into people's homes as
Yes.
well. And you go into the school system of schools, I guess elementary schools, birth to eight, right? You go into the schools as well. Um, how do you ensure, that's kind of an odd question, maybe a little bit, but when you talk about trying to make sure everyone is that you meet the needs of everyone, right? Um, and it's a diverse community, language between language and culture, foods, which we talked about just a little bit before the podcast. I think we both agree that we enjoy food. Uh,
Yeah.
but how do you like culturally, keep everything keep be able to reach out to these people that need it. Sometimes it's a language barrier. Sometimes it's a cultural thing beyond the normal, 9 to 5. Maybe they both parents are working. It's hard to get to them during the day. How do you attend to a child then like that? But let's.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do you handle that? How do you handle? Does
Yeah,
that
I
is
mean, I
that an
think,
issue even?
I think one of the things that we consider is that, with the wraparound service, specifically is, like you said, we do go into the home. So the
Hmm.
service itself is very intrusive because you have a stranger in the home saying, "Hey, let's try this."
Right.
But part of, I did that job too. Everybody kind of starts somewhere, and so I've been in the homes. I've worked with children and families in the home. And something that I did that I felt made families feel more comfortable is just be observant. What are the
Mm,
pictures you have up? What are the awards you have up? What are you
right.
making for dinner? What are your habits when they get home? So it's really establishing sort of a starting point where, what are they doing well? What can I work off of?
Mm,
Every family does, there are things that every family does well. And so that for the most part is sort of, how I like to look at services. How I've trained my staff is, looking at the strengths they already have, and let's
right.
work off of those strengths. But yes, you're right. Our goal, having parents and, guardians who go to school, work, those are all positives in the child and family's
Yeah.
life, right? So we want to be able to support them outside of that, where it doesn't interfere with their typical tasks. And so our prime time to support families should be that 2 to 7 block, because that's when kids are, home from school, parents are
Mm,
getting home from work. And
mm,
so really it's providing services during that time. And we also provide services on the weekend as well. So if the
okay.
family is home, and that's the best time that fits, the need for them, then,
Hmm.
we'll arrange that. And so, I think what we do, we also have something called it's called a YCM, and what it is it's a youth centered meeting where we sit probably every 30 to 45 days with the
Hmm.
entire treatment team and the family, and we talk about what's going well,
Mm,
where are some improvements needed, what's next, what is the next plan, are we stepping down because of the progress made, do we
mm,
need to increase support services somehow? So that meeting is very powerful because it's all driven and ran by the family. It's their voice, it's their need, it's their want. And so our goal is to help support them in what they also feel is, the right direction for their family. So
yeah.
to answer your, a long-winded answer, but I think part of it
No,
is
no.
it's a combination of things. But I also feel that, having their voice heard, not just in services, but as a group is extremely powerful.
Uh, the powerful part, I think, is when the whole family cooperates, right? Have you
Absolutely.
ever experienced where, there's uncooperative people within the unit, and
Oh
because
yeah,
of that, it's
absolutely.
not going to go
Yeah.
anywhere? So,
That is a challenge, absolutely, because sometimes people don't want the services. They have to have the services.
mm,
And so part of it is, getting their buy-in to say, "Hey, look, let's try it. Let's try it and see what happens." And that's, and I think that we have such great staff, here at Chris 180, that people are very persuasive because they're so good at what they do. And
okay.
so it starts to show the families, like, look at this progress that is being made, and and it's not taking a lot of work from you. It's just taking some, habitual practices, and just obviously,
Mhm.
exploring what it could look like. And so I think with that said, yes, absolutely, there's a lot of resistance in some instances. But, with that said, I think for me, it's a motivating factor. it's sort of like, let's show them why they need us in
Yes.
their home, why they need us at, for therapy. And for me, that's sort of how I look at that, is just an additional challenge. Yeah.
Um, I guess one of the things I should ask too is jobs, right? Your organization has staff, but do you expect to expand that staff? Is it easy to find the right people, or is that a difficult proposition?
I think I think like any, job force, I think our goal is to always try to find the best fit for that
Mm.
position, that location, the need of that location. And so, I don't know if hard is the right word, but, I think
Mm.
we do a great job of ensuring that, that the person that we're selecting for that role is the best person for that role. But yes, absolutely. Like you said, my goal is to expand. So hopefully, yes, in the near future, I get to hire a whole bunch of people because it is the need here in this specific
Yeah,
area. But absolutely, I would love to grow. Yeah.
yeah. The need never disappears. It actually
Yeah,
increases, I
absolutely.
guess, right? So,
You're right. Yeah.
have we missed anything, RJ, that you'd like to talk about that I didn't touch upon?
Um, no, I think, I'm excited. This is a huge privilege, so I appreciate you having an interest in, what we're doing here in Gwinnett, and, hopefully
Hmm.
this continues to spread the good word of Chris 180.
Yeah.
But no, I think that, the people before me have done a great job of establishing what Chris 180 is today. And,
Okay.
my goal is to continue to live that on, and, continue to create and be creative, and include anybody and everybody who needs services. So no, I'm very excited. I'm excited to be in Atlanta. I'm excited to work here.
Mm.
And so I think for me, it's, there's a lot of, motivating factors, like I had mentioned before, that
Yeah.
have me excited to, wake up and, work every day.
Excellent. If someone wants to find out a little bit more about Chris 180, where can they go to? What's the website?
Yeah, so our website is great. It literally lists every single thing that we do. It talks about our mission and values, and our website is chris180.org.
Excellent. Um, Great. Everyone, I appreciate you listening in on this. If you have family members or people you know that you think need Chris 180, certainly reach out to them, um, and find out what they can provide for you all, and call them. Their service has just opened in Lawrenceville, expanding into Gwinnett County. RJ and Encinas, thank you for being with me, and for explaining everything to us on what the
Thank you
organization
so
does.
much, Rico, for having me.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for
Sure.
having me.
Hang in there for a minute, but everyone else, thank
All
you.
right.
If you have comments, certainly post it on, if you're listening to this on YouTube or our Facebook pages, post it there, or reach out to the organization itself. And again, thank you for being a listener of our podcast, Urban Amp. Thanks much.